Do you think that Paul was divinely inspired?
Yes.
Do you think I'm divinely inspired?
No.
So do you think, like, if I wanted to say the Old Testament says, okay, and I gave you a verbatim quotation, I don't have to be divinely inspired to do that, right?
Sure. No.
Okay. So somebody who's divinely inspired, they'll be more accurate, right?
Sure. You mean like interpreting scripture?
No, just cite. Easy softball. Just citing scripture, just like reading it off the paper.
Like you mean it? Let's say Paul didn't write the Old Testament, but he should be able to sit down and
cite it properly.
Right. I wouldn't. I would say maybe not.
No. So somebody under divine
No,
inspiration.
because you mean if you read it, or do you mean if you quote it?
If I'm citing it, bro, I can't even get my first premise out the door. If I'm citing it, I am referencing the passage, and I read it differently. I'm not interpreting it yet. I'm referencing it.
Referencing it. So you're saying that within the scope of, let's say, a lecture or something like that, are you saying remembering?
It doesn't have to be a lecture. It could be a conversation, whatever. I'm saying if I said the Old Testament says this, I'm quoting it, and you go in the Old Testament and it's not there, or it's in a different form, it's not an interpretation, that would be a mistake that I made because I'm not divinely inspired.
I wouldn't say that has to deal with being divinely inspired. I would just say that you've made a mistake.
Okay, so a person who's divinely inspired would not make that mistake.
They could.
What does divinely inspired mean, and what's the benefits of it?
I would say to be inspired means to be to have God, an understanding from God that like let's say when they were writing these scriptures, they're able to capture the essence of what God is trying to say. So
what does that? One second.
Sure.
So if you're divinely inspired by God, when you're reading from the Old Testament, for example, what is the benefits of being inspired by God as to not being inspired? What's the difference?
I wouldn't say there is a benefit to that.
There's no benefit.
There's no benefit to being inspired by God.
How ridiculous is that, bro?